Welcome back to ThreadWatch. Have you been keeping up? Cursed images. Was reading about this again this morning. Still outraged. Did they lose the source code or something? Blizzard lost the source code and ended up remaking Starcraft for the remaster. Afterwards, this popped up and the guy returned it to Blizzard for BlizzCon tickets. Some guy found a CD with Starcraft 1 source code on it in his basement or attic, I don't remember which, and being a good Blizzdrone gave it back to Blizzard for BlizzCon tickets. They also paid for his handsome self to go to a hotel and be fed. He posted on Reddit and waited for days until some official came to contact him. Story: I returned the disc to Blizzard 2 weeks ago. A few days later I received a copy of Overwatch and $250 in Blizzard store credit. A week later I got another call from a Blizzard employee. He wanted to thank me for returning their disc, which was in fact stolen. He then asked me if I have ever heard of BlizzCon. I said, well, yeah, of course, but it's impossible for me to go. I live in the East Coast, and the badges are always sold out before you can refresh the page, lol. He said, well, the reason we are calling you is to invite you to BlizzCon, all expenses paid, and we would love to take you out for drinks. I didn't know what to say. I was shocked. I expected nothing more than the free game and the store credit. After I thanked him 1,000 times he said, oh, by the way, you should also be receiving something in the mail. This is what I got 2 days later. BlizzCon tickets. They gave him more than just tickets but not a single video game. Does anything good ever come from Reddit when they find super rare things? Oh no, this one is actually depressing. PCMR kid finds an prototype Xbox and wipes it, turning it into a case. PCMR subreddit, literally the only place you'd find people who would support this, still goes completely bat Susan and tells him off as there could have been valuable stuff on there that could have assisted emulation. Yeah, that source code had potential to help make some great things. Terrible or good, who knows? It wouldn't. There have been tons of source code leaks that haven't come to anything, and based on reports of Blizzard employees, the Starcraft source turned into a spaghetti mess before release. It would take more work to make anything interesting with the Starcraft source code than it would take to just work on your own game from scratch, not to mention the pain of figuring out how to compile their old codebase too. And all that effort would be in service of working on leaked source code to make something that you can't legally redistribute or attach your name to. Don't get me wrong, it's bull Susan. It's been over 20 years, there's no threat to Blizz from the source code leaking, and that code really should be available for curiosity and educational purposes at least. Some people here seem to think that the source code leaking would have led to tons of mods and ports like Doom, though, ignoring the fact that the Doom source code is freely licensed and legal to port, modify, and redistribute, making it a completely different world. Big Starcraft community Susan here. I texted with this Susingot when it happened. Basically what happened was that he posted an image of the CD online without thinking, and after that he was afraid to put it online because he knew that Blizzard would sue his Susan. Literally just remembering this makes me angry, as this act alone set back development for emulators, hacks, cracks, further modifications and whatever else years, as well as losing what games or data may have been on that system. A Susaning goldmine what it probably provide years of further development shattered because some Susan wanted Susaning karma and cool boy points. Anyone remember this? The story goes, guy secretly had source code of City of Heroes. A MMORPG shut down in its prime for seemingly no apparent reason. Guy just invites super close friends and treats it like his own playground. He's caught and he decides to close his server and hide everything about the code. Death threats and actual pictures of him in his house are leaked. Guy backs down and the server is released slowly over time. You can now play it now, all because some maniac doxed the guy. LMAO. It was even worse than what you described. He started out initially just inviting close friends, but the server eventually grew through these friends wanting to invite their friends. It grew to have hundreds of players, but it was all kept very secretive because the guy running knew that if it was made public that the source code existed, the fanbase would demand it be shared. So him and his admin team ran literal disinformation campaigns, actively denying the existence of the server because rumors did eventually spread, and mocked anyone who dared suggest it existed. They did this, actively, in various co-H communities for seasoning years. Meanwhile, if any of the people active on the hidden private server spoke up against the opinions of the admins, they threatened them with permanent bans and account character deletion in PMs. Sometimes they threatened their friends and family who might play on the server too. To put this into perspective, the guy with the source code also had the only remaining copy of the account character database, meaning that he could permanently erase your Susan if you disobeyed him and it would be unrecoverable. It was some real Susaning power-tripping nerd mafia Susan. That super cringy thing you said in a match 5 years ago. That super cringy thing you said in real life 5 years ago. I was an illiterate child on RS 2004 to 2006 though. That super cringy thing you said 5 hours ago. This happens to me at least once a day. It's hell on earth. Why does my brain remember every single stupid thing I've ever done since high school and beyond? That super cringy thing you did 2 hours ago. Remembering your edgy atheist phase. Talking or chatting ever outside of relaying important information. Important information, such as position of enemies or beneficial items you may have placed or plans to take a position so you have come coordination. Talking to people in online games. Talking to people. You're all a bunch of small timers. Bet none of you even did embarrassing brony Susan in high school. It's your body trying to remind you not to do it again. It won't work if you don't replace the cringe with non-cringe though, so instead you must suffer for eternity. That attractive girl who said she adored you and subtly asked you out one day but whose affections you never reciprocated. Sometime I wonder if inaction was the right choice. That super cringy account you had on a now defunct gaming forum from 10 years ago. Wef, I sure am glad it's gone. That girl you went to prom with, as friends. Make a move and kiss her before the end. She lets you down easy. Like a week later she texts you wanting you to go do something together. Nah, I dunno, might be busy. TFW, everything I say is cringy. Spend your preteen years on a Pokemon forum. Meet a group of nerds your age from around the world. Start RPing fantasy adventures together. Get really into it and eventually move to your own board, where you wrote years worth of cringeworthy adventures, with guest appearances by Final Fantasy, Sonic, and Eddy characters, among others. Produce fanfiction and fan art of your characters' exploits, romances and battles, even get involved in a war with a rival forum that spanned over 100 pages. Become inseparably close friends over your teens. Eventually start ERPing over AIM because everyone was horny and a virgin. Spend hours every week just talking, posting and RPing with each other for approximately 5 years. Graduation approaches. The sudden realization of how incredibly embarrassing the whole thing was hits you and the others like a train. Gradually drift apart. Still cringe sometimes while remembering it. Go back and look for your old posts and messages. Everything's been deleted. Be depressed ever since. Those cringy posts you made when you were a site admin. That cringy thing you're going to say in the future. I hope she says yes. I'm 24, when do I stop being a cringelord? I mostly have a boring Susan personality I use in public and most social situations, but whenever I let down my reserves and just be myself, it all comes pouring right back out. If you find yourself thinking about something stupid you did years ago regularly, it helps to remember that embarrassment is largely born out of your own inflated ego. You think you're the center of the world, when in reality people don't really give a Susan about you. Remember that dude in school who literally shat his pants? When was the last time you thought about pants Susanta? I'd wager it was quite some time ago. People are too occupied with their own lives and thinking about themselves to care about something embarrassing you did. Thanks for watching, see you on the boards.